My wife said, "I'm too young to settle down, I need to see my choices." I let her leave. 6 months later she begged to come back again. My reply shattered her. I never thought a simple dinner conversation could shatter my entire world. But when my wife spoke, her words hit me like a truck, and I knew nothing would ever be the same. That Tuesday evening in March felt ordinary. We were just having pasta at our kitchen table, the low hum of the refrigerator the only sound, until I noticed her fork wasn't moving. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep it casual. The look Chloe gave me, though, made my stomach drop. "Ethan, I need to talk to you about something serious," she said. And that was it. I knew, right then, whatever was coming would be bad. "I love you, but I got married too young. I'm only 27, and I feel like I missed out on so much. I need to explore my options, see what else is out there before I'm really ready to settle down." Explore her options. See what else is out there. The words just hung there, in the air, heavy and suffocating. I sat frozen, trying to process that my wife was essentially asking for a hall pass on our marriage. "Are you saying you want a divorce?" I asked, somehow, miraculously, keeping my voice steady. "I don't know," she replied, looking away. "I just need space to figure out who I am. I'm too young to be tied down like this." Tied down. Like I was a prison sentence. Here's where I should have fought. Suggested counseling. Begged her to reconsider. But something inside me just went cold, utterly calm. Maybe it was shock, maybe pride, but I looked at her and said something I didn't plan. "Okay, explore all you want. I won't stop you." Her eyes went wide. Her mouth fell open. That clearly wasn't the response she expected. "Really? You're okay with this?" she asked, relief and confusion mixing in her voice. "Sure," I said, a strange detachment in my tone. "You're right. You're young. You should figure out what you want. I'm not going to beg you to stay." I stood up, started clearing the dishes, and she just stared at me like I was a stranger. "I thought you'd be more upset," she said, her voice small. "More to talk about this." "What's there to talk about, Chloe? You've made up your mind. You want to see what else is out there? So, go see." That night, she packed while I watched, giving her absolutely nothing, not a single emotion. No dramatic scene. No breakdown. By sunrise, her car was loaded, and she was leaving. She turned back once, started to say something, but I cut her off. "Go explore, Chloe. Find whatever you're looking for." I closed the door, and then, finally, I let myself feel it. The next 2 weeks were hell. I called in sick, obsessively checked her social media, even drove past her sister's place at 2 a.m. like some kind of psycho. But then I looked in the mirror one morning, barely recognizing the hollow-eyed ghost staring back. I realized I had a choice: let this destroy me, or rebuild myself into something better. That day, I joined a gym, deleted every social media app from my phone, and booked a therapy appointment. My best friend Daniel helped me redecorate the entire apartment, meticulously removing every trace of Chloe until the space felt like mine again. I threw myself into work, started rock climbing, joined a book club, and even learned to actually cook. I started saying yes to everything I'd been declining for years. And here's the crazy part: I felt good. Better than I'd felt in years, like I'd been holding my breath, and finally remembered how to exhale. Chloe's texts started coming about 2 weeks later. Casual check-ins, asking how I was, hoping we could be friends. I left every single one on read. Through mutual friends, I heard she was living it up. Parties every weekend, new people, exactly what she said she needed. I didn't care. I was too busy rebuilding myself. 6 weeks after she left, Daniel dragged me to a tech networking event I absolutely did not want to attend. I was at the bar, calculating how soon I could escape, when this woman walked up and asked if the seat next to me was taken. Her name was Sophia. And within 5 minutes, I was actually laughing, actually present, instead of stuck in my head. Sophia was 28, worked in project management, and had this infectious energy that made everything sound interesting. When she asked for my number at the end of the night, I gave it without hesitation. We started with coffee, then dinner, and suddenly I was dating again, and it felt so right. Sophia was everything Chloe wasn't. Direct about what she wanted, didn't play games, secure in herself. When she said something, she meant it. By month 3, we were official, and I felt like I'd found something real, something where I didn't have to guess or worry someone would wake up wanting to find themselves. The grapevine started buzzing. Chloe was asking about me, asking friends what I was up to, if I was seeing anyone. Apparently, she wasn't handling the information well. Her sister even called once, angry, saying I'd moved on too fast, that I clearly never loved Chloe. The irony was completely lost on her. I ignored Chloe's increasingly frequent texts asking to meet and talk, ignored her obvious social media stalking. I was done with that chapter, genuinely happy for the first time in years. Then, almost exactly 6 months after Chloe left to explore her options, my phone buzzed. "Ethan, I need to see you. It's important. Please." I stared at that text and knew. I just knew the real chaos was about to begin. But I wasn't the same person she'd left 6 months ago, and she was about to find that out the hard way. I stared at Chloe's text for 10 minutes. That simple message, asking to see me, claiming it was important. I was at Sophia's apartment when it came through, and something had fundamentally shifted in me over those 6 months. I'd learned that hiding things only breeds disaster. I showed her the message immediately. Sophia read it, her expression carefully neutral, and asked if I was going to respond. I told her no, that whatever Chloe wanted to say, I didn't need to hear it. But Chloe wasn't the type to take silence for an answer. Over the next week, the texts kept coming, each one more desperate than the last, escalating from "I miss you" to "I made a mistake" to full-blown, "Please, Ethan, just give me one conversation." I showed every single one to Sophia. Maintaining the transparency I'd learned was crucial, and she handled it with a maturity that honestly made me fall for her even harder. She wasn't insecure, wasn't jealous, just supportive and understanding in a way that made me realize what a real partnership was supposed to look like. Through the grapevine, I started hearing things about Chloe's 6-month exploration, and none of it was pretty. My friend Emily, who'd stayed neutral during the split, finally pulled me aside at a mutual friend's birthday party and told me everything. Chloe's grand adventure had crashed and burned spectacularly. The exciting nightlife got old after the first month. The new friend group she'd been posting about turned out to be shallow party people who disappeared when she actually needed support. And the dating scene had been an absolute disaster. Apparently, she'd gone on dozens of dates with guys who were only interested in hookups, had a few short relationships that fizzled within weeks, and had spent the last 2 months in what Emily described as a spiral of regret. The final straw, according to Emily, was when Chloe saw a photo on Instagram of me and Sophia at a concert, tagged by a mutual friend. Chloe had apparently seen us looking happy together and had a complete meltdown, crying to anyone who would listen that she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. I should have felt vindicated hearing all this. Should have felt that sweet rush of karma doing its work. But mostly, I just felt empty about it. That chapter of my life was closed, the book shelved, and Chloe's regrets weren't my problem anymore. But Chloe kept pushing, kept trying different angles to get through to me. The texts evolved from desperate pleas to philosophical revelations about growth and maturity. "I've grown so much in these 6 months and I know what I want now, and it's you. And I'm ready to commit. Really commit this time." After 2 weeks of her digital bombardment, I finally sent a single response. "Chloe, I'm seeing someone. I've moved on. I think you should, too." Her reply came within seconds, like she'd been sitting there waiting, phone in hand. "Just meet me for coffee." 1 hour, please. I need closure. I talked to Sophia about it that night, and she told me the decision was mine, but reminded me of something important. I didn't owe Chloe anything, that I'd already given her 3 years, and she'd thrown them away like garbage. She was right. But Chloe started escalating her tactics in ways that bordered on stalking. She began showing up at places she knew I frequented, the Elmwood Cafe near my office where I grabbed my morning espresso, the climbing gym I joined as part of my self-improvement journey, even the bar where my book club met on Thursday nights. Each coincidental encounter felt more calculated than the last. And each time I saw her, she looked different. Not worse exactly, but worn down, like the 6 months had aged her in ways that went beyond physical. The third time she appeared at my climbing gym, I'd had enough of the games and agreed to meet her for coffee just to end this circus once and for all. But I set a boundary immediately. If we were meeting, Sophia was coming with me. Chloe's response was cold and angry, saying she wanted to talk privately, but I held firm. That was the offer. Take it or leave it. She left it, but only for another week before the messages started again, this time with a different strategy. She sent me a long text that laid all her cards on the table, admitting she'd hurt me, saying she didn't deserve another chance, but claiming she was ready now. Ready to be the wife I deserved, ready for kids, for the house, for everything we'd talked about during our marriage. Reading that message, I felt anger finally break through the numbness I'd been carrying. She actually thought I'd been sitting around waiting for her to finish her exploration. Thought these 6 months were just a pause button she could unpause whenever she decided she was ready. She had no idea that I'd completely rebuilt myself, that I'd found someone who actually knew what she wanted from day one. I talked it over with Sophia again, and she squeezed my hand and asked what I was going to do. I knew I had to face this head-on. Had to give Chloe the closure she claimed she needed. But really, I needed it, too. Needed to look her in the eye and make her understand that the door she'd walked through 6 months ago had locked behind her. I texted Chloe back with clear terms. Coffee this Saturday at 2 p.m. at Elmwood Cafe. Just the two of us. But this will be the final conversation. No more texts after this. No more showing up places. This is closure and nothing else. Her response was immediate and hopeful, thanking me and promising I wouldn't regret it. But sitting there with Sophia that night, I already knew exactly how Saturday was going to go. Chloe wanted the old Ethan back. The guy who'd molded his entire existence around making her happy. The guy who'd put her needs above his own consistently for 3 years. That version of me had died the night she walked out. And in his place was someone who knew his worth, someone who wouldn't accept being anyone's backup plan or safety net. Saturday was going to be the day Chloe finally understood what she'd really lost. And I had a feeling she wasn't going to handle it well. What I didn't know was just how spectacularly she'd fall apart, or that the chaos that would follow would make the last 6 months look calm by comparison. Saturday came, and I arrived at Elmwood Cafe 10 minutes early. Chloe walked in exactly at 2 p.m., dressed in the blue dress I'd always complimented, hair and makeup perfect. Every detail calculated to remind me of what we'd had. She sat down and launched into a clearly rehearsed speech about growth and mistakes. How the last 6 months taught her what really mattered. How every date just made her realize what she'd lost. How she was ready now, truly ready to build the life we planned. I let her finish, then took a breath. Chloe, I appreciate the honesty, but I don't need you anymore. I found someone who knew what she wanted from the start, who didn't need to explore at my expense. I'm happy now, and I'm not giving that up. Her face transformed instantly. Hope draining into shock, then disbelief, then something almost feral. You can't be serious. You're just trying to hurt me. Her voice rose, loud enough that nearby tables turned to stare. I kept calm. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm telling you the truth. We're over, and I've moved on. She started crying, loud, gasping sobs, reaching across the table for my hands. I pulled back. She begged, said she'd be anything I wanted, that we could start fresh. When I stood to leave, she followed me onto the street, still pleading. I drove away, watching her in my rearview mirror, thinking that was the end. I was catastrophically wrong. That night, my phone exploded. 53 texts between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m., evolving from apologies to rage. Accusations that I'd led her on, that Sophia was just a rebound, that I'd regret this forever. I blocked her. So, she called from different numbers, her sisters, friends, strangers. I blocked each one. Then came social media. A long Instagram story about betrayal and men who abandoned relationships, never naming me, but obvious enough that mutual friends started asking questions. Sunday morning, my mother texted, saying Chloe had called her, crying, begging her to convince me to try again. The boundary crossing told me this was spiraling dangerously. Monday evening, Sophia and I were celebrating our 3-month anniversary at a cozy Italian place in Willow Creek when Chloe walked through the door. She spotted us and came straight to our table, ignoring Sophia entirely. "Ethan, please just listen. You think you've moved on, but this is just a phase. You're proving something to yourself." I stood, putting myself between her and our table. "Chloe, you need to leave. This is harassment." The restaurant was staring now. Her voice got louder. "Harassment? I'm your wife. We took vows. You don't throw that away for some random girl." Sophia stood up. Her voice ice cold. "I'm not random. And he's not throwing anything away. You threw it away 6 months ago. Leave before we call the police." Chloe looked at Sophia like she was seeing her for the first time, called her a name I won't repeat, and grabbed my arm like she'd physically drag me away. I jerked back. "That's enough. Leave now or I'm calling the police." The manager appeared, escorting Chloe out while she screamed that I'd regret this, that she'd make sure everyone knew what kind of person I was. Our anniversary dinner was ruined. In the car, Sophia said what I already knew. "You need to do something before this gets worse." The next day, I filed for divorce and started the restraining order process. The restaurant's security footage made the restraining order easy. Chloe contested the divorce viciously, dragging it out for months. She created fake social media accounts to harass us both, sent letters to my workplace claiming I'd stolen money, showed up at my apartment at 2 a.m. repeatedly until my landlord threatened police involvement. Everything got documented for my lawyer. Her family sent hateful messages about abandoning their daughter, conveniently forgetting she'd wanted to explore. Some mutual friends believed her narrative that I'd moved on too fast, clearly had been cheating. I lost friendships, but anyone who didn't ask for my side wasn't worth keeping anyway. The divorce took 4 months because Chloe fought everything. Demanding alimony despite her own career, claiming emotional abandonment, submitting pages of texts as evidence that I'd checked out first. My lawyer demolished every argument. The judge granted the divorce with no alimony, citing Chloe's own words about exploring options as proof she'd initiated the separation. The restraining order remained. That was 8 months ago. I'm now engaged to Sophia, living in a new apartment Chloe doesn't know about, genuinely happier than ever. She still tries occasionally. Fake accounts we immediately block. Messages through obscure connections. A letter to my parents 3 months ago about therapy and wanting to apologize properly. I never responded. My mom said Chloe is dating someone new from work. I hope she's moved on. Hope she learned something. But whether she has or hasn't isn't my problem anymore. The woman who destroyed our marriage to explore her options taught me the most valuable lesson. Sometimes the worst thing that happens clears the path for something real. Sophia is everything Chloe wasn't. Secure, honest, mature, absolutely certain about what she wants. And what she wants is me. No exploration necessary. My wife said she was too young to be tied down. I let her go. She came back expecting me to wait, and I rejected her because I'd found someone infinitely better. The chaos was biblical, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, and all you can do is thank it for leaving and move on with your life. What would you have done in my shoes?